Spartacus was a gladiator. He was also a slave. In 73 BC, he led a revolt against the mighty Roman Republic. This became the Third Servile War. It shook the foundations of Roman society. Spartacus's name became a symbol of freedom and resistance. Rome was a slave-owning society. Slaves were essential to the Roman economy. They worked in mines, fields, and households. Spartacus challenged this system. His rebellion had far-reaching consequences. This essay will explore how Spartacus's revolt impacted Rome's economy. Before Spartacus, Rome was a booming economy. This prosperity relied heavily on slave labor. Conquered peoples became slaves. They worked without pay. This kept costs low and profits high for Roman elites. This reliance on slaves made the Roman economy vulnerable. A disruption to the slave system could be disastrous. The influx of slaves suppressed wages. This hurt Roman laborers. They could not compete with free labor. This created social tension. The gap between the rich and poor widened. Spartacus's rebellion would exploit this underlying instability. Spartacus's rebellion was a direct assault on the Roman economic machine. His army, made up of escaped slaves, disrupted trade routes. They plundered wealthy estates. This caused widespread economic chaos. The Roman Senate felt the pressure. They sent legions to crush the rebellion. These military campaigns were expensive. The war drained the Roman treasury. The cost of fighting Spartacus added to the economic burden. This only highlighted the vulnerability of Rome's system. Section 4. The Senate responds. Reforms in the wake of revolt. The Third Servile War, led by the gladiator Spartacus, forced Rome to confront its deep-rooted dependence on slavery. This massive uprising shook the foundations of Roman society and made it clear that changes were necessary to prevent future revolts. The Senate, alarmed by the scale and intensity of the rebellion, realized that immediate action was required. They convened numerous sessions to debate and draft new reforms aimed at addressing the root causes of the unrest. These reforms were not just about quelling the current rebellion, but also about preventing future uprisings. The Senate understood that military might alone would not be enough. Systemic changes were essential. The economic consequences of these reforms were significant. The Senate had to balance the interests of the wealthy elite, who relied heavily on slave labor, with the growing discontent among the lower classes. One of the key reforms was to limit the size of estates that could use slave labor. This was intended to reduce the concentration of wealth and power in the hands of a few, and to distribute resources more evenly. By creating a more balanced workforce, the Senate hoped to alleviate some of the economic pressures that had contributed to the revolt. This reform aimed to provide more opportunities for free citizens to find work and improve their living conditions. Another significant reform was the encouragement of paid labor over slave labor. This was a radical shift in Roman economic policy and was designed to create a more sustainable and fair labor market. These measures were also meant to appease the Roman lower classes, who had long felt marginalized and oppressed. By addressing some of their grievances, the Senate hoped to restore social harmony and stability. Although these reforms were limited in scope and did not completely eradicate the issues, they were a testament to the profound impact of Spartacus's rebellion. The legacy of this revolt forced Rome to rethink its policies and set the stage for future changes in the empire. Section 5. The Long Shadow of the Sword, Lasting Economic Impacts. The effects of Spartacus's revolt resonated long after its suppression. The rebellion, though ultimately crushed, left an indelible mark on Roman society and its economic structures. The sheer scale of the uprising and the fear it instilled in the Roman elite forced them to reconsider their heavy reliance on slave labor. The Roman economy underwent gradual changes. The aftermath of the revolt highlighted the vulnerabilities in their economic system, which was heavily dependent on the exploitation of slaves. This realization prompted a slow but significant shift in economic practices. The reliance on slave labor decreased. As the Roman elite began to see the potential dangers of an over-reliance on slaves, they started to explore other forms of labor. This was not an overnight change, but a gradual transition that took place over several decades. This was partly due to the reforms and partly due to changing attitudes. Political reforms aimed at stabilizing the economy and reducing the risk of future revolts played a crucial role. Additionally, there was a growing awareness among the Roman citizens about the ethical and practical implications of slavery. Roman citizens began to see the dangers of excessive reliance on slaves. Public debates and discussions in forums often centered around the need for a more sustainable and equitable economic model. This shift in public opinion was instrumental in driving economic reforms. They sought alternative forms of labor. The focus gradually shifted towards employing free citizens and paying them wages for their work. This not only provided a more stable workforce, but also helped in reducing social tensions. This shift towards paid labor had a profound impact on the Roman economy. It led to the creation of a more diversified and resilient economic structure. The introduction of wages meant that workers had more purchasing power, which in turn stimulated trade and commerce. It led to the growth of a wage-earning class. This new class of workers contributed to the economic dynamism of the Roman Empire. They were not only consumers, but also played a crucial role in the production of goods and services. It also fostered the development of new industries. As the economy diversified, new trades and industries emerged, further strengthening the economic foundation of the Roman Empire. This period of economic transformation laid the groundwork for future prosperity and stability. Section 6. A hidden legacy, Spartacus the accidental economist. Spartacus was a gladiator, not an economist, but his rebellion had unintended economic consequences. It forced Rome to rethink its dependence on slavery. It accelerated the transition to a more diversified economy. Spartacus's revolt highlighted the economic and social tensions within Roman society. It showed the vulnerability of a system built on exploitation. His name, forever etched in history, became a reminder of the human cost of unchecked greed. Section 7. Conclusion. The enduring significance of Spartacus's revolt. The Third Servile War, also known as Spartacus's Revolt, was a significant turning point in Roman history. This massive slave uprising, which took place from 73 to 71 BCE, shook the very foundations of the Roman Republic. It exposed the deep-seated flaws in the Roman economic system, which heavily relied on slave labor. The revolt highlighted the vulnerabilities and the inherent instability of an economy dependent on the subjugation of a large portion of its population. The aftermath of the rebellion forced the Roman Senate to reconsider and implement changes that would shape the Roman world for centuries to come. These changes included reforms in the military and economic sectors, aiming to prevent such uprisings in the future. Spartacus's rebellion, though ultimately crushed by the Roman legions, had a lasting impact on Roman society and culture. His story became a symbol of resistance and the fight for freedom against oppression. Spartacus's story is a powerful reminder that even the most formidable empires are vulnerable to internal strife and rebellion. His legacy endures as a testament to the strength and resilience of the human spirit. He showed that the oppressed can challenge their oppressors, inspiring countless generations to stand up against tyranny and fight for their rights and freedoms. Spartacus's fight for freedom, though ultimately tragic, left an indelible mark on the course of history. His legacy continues to inspire and remind us of the enduring struggle for justice and equality.